Hey everyone! So in this video, I want to introduce your next take-home assessment, A3 Assassin Manager. Now note, this game does talk about this game called Assassin, but this is a game more like tag. So when you open up the specification, we talk about the background for the game being something that you might play with friends, where each person is targeting someone else, and the goal is to try to get the person you're targeting out, and then their target becomes your target, and the last person left in the game is the one that wins. So again, we'll talk about this in terms of assassin and killing, but we want you to imagine this more like a game. So the kind of core structure we'll think about in this game of Assassin Manager is this idea of this thing we call the kill ring. So the kill ring is kind of the list of people kind of left in the game. And so we're going to represent it as something like a linked list, where Joe might be targeting Sally, who might be targeting Jim, who might be targeting Carol, who might be targeting Chris. And then we'll treat the person at the end of the list, Chris, as targeting the first person on the list, Joe. But that's more of an implicit targeting rather than having an explicit link. And the reason we're going to represent this like a linked structure is when it's time for someone to be removed from the game because they might have gone tagged, then we can remove them and rearrange the links without having to shift a lot of things around. So for example, if the game started with Joe, Sally, Jim, and Carol and Chris, and Sally tagged Jim, so we use the word kill or assassinate in terms of the game's language, then because Sally killed Jim, Jim's removed, and now Sally would be targeting Carol. So we provide a Assassin Manager main method that kind of works with reading through names of files and also dealing with user interaction. But your job is to implement the code that actually manages the state of the game, both this kill ring, and we also want to know who's been assassinated in which order in this list of the graveyard. Okay. So let me show you a little bit about the code for this assignment. So for this assignment, we provide you Assassin main, which is the program that you can use to run this. And we also provide you an Assassin node that's going to be kind of like a list node in terms of the linked list, but it's going to represent one person in the game. So the Assassin node is actually provided for you, so you should not modify this. You don't need to change anything about this. The Assassin node keeps track of the name of the person. And a couple of things that are a little bit different is we're actually going to have two pieces of data inside this Assassin node, the name of the person and when that person gets killed, the name of the killer, so we can remember who they were killed by. So we're going to have two data fields in here, and we'll have the Assassin node next to be the reference to the next one in the list. Besides that, it's very similar to our list node, except one other difference is we actually use this special keyword for the name field to make it final. So we've seen the keyword final before when thinking about class constants, but not in the context of fields. When you make a field final, you're not able to change it after it's initialized. So by making the string name field final, once you construct an Assassin node, you're no longer able to change the name. Your code won't compile. So we're going to leave that in there so that you're not able to change the name field at all. But besides that, you don't need to worry about the finalness of that field. You're allowed to change killer though, because killer is non-final. Okay, so let me go back to the specification real quick before showing how to run this program. I'll mention that in this assignment, there are going to be a lot of methods you have to implement. So you can actually see there's about a page of methods descriptions. What we really recommend in terms of the development strategy is really start off with the constructor, and then the methods like print kill ring and print graveyard, and the kill ring contains and graveyard contains, and these other methods. And we really recommend the method that we save to the end, the kill method, because that's going to be the most complicated in terms of list node manipulation. So we really recommend making sure your print kill ring and your print graveyard and these contains methods work well before trying to implement kill, because it's going to be the kill method is going to be the most difficult one for this assignment. So all of this spec walks you through what these methods are supposed to do. The one thing I want to point out is for print kill ring, this is going to print out the state of the game. And note, we say the format is going to be X is stalking Y, where X and Y are placeholders for the name. So we actually show you some example output for the game that we had at the beginning of the spec. Okay. And then kill is the most complicated method in terms of you're given a name of the person that just got killed. You need to go through and you need to remove them from the kill ring and add them to the graveyard. So let me show you what this looks like in terms of how the program runs. So I'm going to run our program right here, assassin main. And I'm going to use, we have a couple files of names. So we give you some provided name files. These name files tell you who's supposed to be stalking who. So I'm going to say names3.txt. And I don't want them shuffled. Okay, so let me scoot this up a bit so we can see what's going on. So right now at the beginning of the game, the kill ring is set up so Athos is stalking Porthos, Porthos is stalking Aramis, and Aramis is stalking Athos. And so far the graveyard is empty because no one has been killed yet. So let's say I'm going to kill Aramis. Now this is what then we call your kill method, passing an Aramis, and it's your job to reshuffle everything around to update the state of the game. So since Aramis was killed, Porthos will now stalk Athos, because Aramis was originally stalking Athos. And because we just killed Aramis, Aramis gets put in the graveyard, and we note that Aramis was killed by Porthos. Then, for example, if I want to kill Athos, it will say the game is now won by Porthos, because the game is now over, so only Porthos is left in the kill ring, and we've updated the graveyard after that kill call. So that's your assignment. You're implementing the class AssassinManager that works with all this stuff behind the scenes. Okay, I want to give a couple development strategies for this assignment. So going back to the spec. So one thing to note is we have a requirement on what fields you should have. In your AssassinManager, you should only have 2 fields. A reference to the start of the kill ring and a reference to the start of the graveyard. Nothing else. We want you to solve this problem with this limited set of fields. So we tell you exactly which fields to use. You should only use these. We also recommend that because, especially since I recommended earlier, that you start with all of the methods besides kill, you're not going to be really able to use AssassinManager well until you have the whole thing finished, or you think you have the whole thing finished. So what we recommend is that for this assignment, like we were recommending in class last week, that you actually write a small test program that constructs an AssassinManager and calls these methods by yourself, so that you could see, does it have the output I'm expecting? So you'll find that from the last Friday's lecture, or sorry, if you're watching it today, this Friday's lecture, about linked int list and our little linked int list client we wrote to be very helpful in trying to test edge cases for your methods by just inspecting the output from some print calls. I also want to send a reminder that, back on so the spec has a lot of useful links and a lot of information, but also want to remind you that the course website has lots of information too. So in particular, we have links to the code quality guide, which might help you understand kind of what design decisions you might be making about your assignment. And we also have our link to our commenting guide that can help you make decisions about what you want to comment on. For this assignment, you're going to find the output comparison tool very, very useful. So as a reminder, the tests on ed that we provide when you press mark are not meant to be good debuggers. They can't really provide good, useful error messages all the time because really they're just trying to tell, is your code correct or not? So the things that we provide to you to help you debug your code is this output comparison tool, where you can look at the different output. Sorry, I think the recorder I'm using is making it a little difficult for me to click on this. That's kind of funny. But you could click on that and then go through all of the different possible outputs there and test cases there. Try running AssassinManager using those inputs and outputs, and then compare the output there. That is going to be a much better way to help you understand what's going wrong. But you could also use the JGrass debugger to help you, once you spot a bug from the output comparison tool, something not being correct, you could use the debugger in JGrass to actually figure out what's going on by clicking through your program. So as a reminder, we have this JGrass debugger tutorial linked on the course website that helps you show you how to do this. And I do want to note that for Assassin, things are a little bit weird. We have instructions in the specification for some settings you have to use in JGrass to make the debugger look correct. So we have exactly what you need to type in, but by default, your Assassin nodes won't show up correctly. And so you have to change one thing in the settings to make it work. Okay, that's all I have for this video. So I hope you enjoy this assignment. Please make sure you start early and come get help in the IPL on the message board if you get stuck. This assignment is going to be very different than the last assignment, Guitar Hero, because it's maybe a little bit more conceptually straightforward what we're supposed to try to be doing, where in Guitar Hero it really didn't make sense what we were trying to do. But in AssassinManager, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get all the little details right of all the node manipulations. And so it's totally okay to run into debugging troubles or bugs, and we're here to help you if you need it.